Driving.ca, we're going back to basics. It might have been a while since you've been in a showroom. Things have changed. People are still a little edgy. Prices have been insane for a few years. The market's starting to settle down. So I'm at an actual dealership. Hamilton Hyundai has been kind enough to let me shoot here. And Colin Brown is the sales manager at Hamilton Hyundai. So he is going to lead us through this process. And I'm going to ask all the questions that you've been dying to ask when it comes to buying a car. I've decided that I like the look of this car. I've read a couple of reviews. I think this might be the way I want to go.
Right.
What should my next questions be when I approach you and say, hey, I love this car?
Well, I think if you're having a good consultative approach at the dealership, we're going to sit you down, have a conversation, and find out what your needs and wants are, and try and tailor the trim level that suits your specific needs and wants.
So I'm going to tell you things about my life. Who's going to be driving it, whether I have pets, if I have a cottage, what I'm going to be using it for.
All that sort of stuff. A day or a week in the life of your car.
Okay, and so a good consultant is going to listen to all those things and then tell me those things.
That's correct, Lorraine.
Okay. I love that Kona. The sticker in the window said 37.7. I think that's a little bit rich for me.
Okay.
I also like the Venue a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of numbers would I be looking at for the Venue, and could I afford it?
Well, funnily enough, I happen to have a Venue bill of sale right here for you, Lorraine. So that vehicle itself, after your freight and air tax in there, is $26,950. How does that sound for fitting in the budget?
Okay, that obviously is better. Correct?
You're not sure on whether you want to look at a lease or a finance, correct?
Correct.
So here's both of them for you, okay? Now we're looking at the finance here, and we've done this over a term of 72 months, okay? And this is what your payment's going to be, okay? That's on a monthly basis.
For 72 months.
For 72 months.
Okay.
Your lease payment, and this one is for 48 months, is significantly less, okay? Essentially because you're buying half the car.
Well, it's kind of like you're renting a car, right? Sort of.
But my experience, Lorraine, has shown me that even if somebody is doing a 6-year or a 7-year finance to make the car that they want affordable, they're looking at getting out of that car and trading it into another car. So is that finance person any really farther ahead than the lease person?
They have some equity in the car.
But did they not spend more money to get that equity? This person, then the leasing, has had to put out half the amount of money through that term. So if that person was putting some money aside for a down payment, they kind of could have some equity as well. I'm using the term equity loosely there,
yes.
But you understand what I'm getting at.
Okay.
And sometimes these people in the finance department, their equity is incredibly low because they've been an Uber, they've been whatever. There's 150,000 kilometers on the car 7 years later. So the value, depending on how they've taken care of it, may not be a big amount. But again, it comes down to what is right for you in your situation, your family situation.
Okay. If I am leasing this vehicle, what are some things I have to be careful about? Like, what are some of the parameters around leasing that I should be aware of?
Biggest parameters around leasing are the term, your mileage, and your condition. So if you have 3 little kids under the age of 5 and have to do a lot of driving, leasing might not be the right car for you if it's going to get abused and seats are torn and stains and that sort of thing.
Colin, we've got the leasing terms are here.
Mm-hmm.
What does each line mean?
Okay, so here we have, for this particular lease, this is the interest rate. This is the amount of payments per year, so this is a bi-weekly contract. Term is 48 months. 80,000 is the total kilometers at the end of the lease, so this is 20,000 kilometers over the 4 years. Cash down payment in this case was $389. Residual value is 57% of the total, or $15,645. Your residual is your option, your lease option or purchase option at the end of the lease. Should you wish to buy out the car, you would buy that plus your taxes. Usually there's going to be some licensing and a buyout fee in there as well. There's your monthly payment prior to taxes, with taxes, and that is the total cost bi-weekly for this person over 4 years. Now, I also, there's lots of products from our financial department that can protect you against excess kilometers or excess wear and tear. They're very reasonably priced, and I think it's one of the good things that people should be looking at when they do have a lease, to take away some of that fear, some of that. But I find that once somebody has leased, they are comfortable with what's expected or what the parameters are around that lease, and you'll often see people releasing and releasing.
Is there a way, a month or two before the lease is up, should I have it brought in? I returned a lease once and they sent me this enormous bill, and it was not Hyundai, it was not this company, but it was years and years ago, and I got this bill a couple months later, and they told me the tires didn't match and all this stuff. We figured it out, it wasn't true, I didn't have to do it.
Right.
But there's horror stories, it's
Yes.
like you send the lease back in. Is there a way to front end load that and to head off a problem? Can I bring the car in to, let's say I've maintained it here, can you do a check over it? Can you?
We could
over?
easily, for sure, and I think anybody would be happy to do that, regardless of the brand and where you lease the car from. Certainly over the last few years, things have been a little bit different. Most of the cars coming off lease we have actually purchased here at the dealership to put into our used car inventory, because used cars have been very hard to acquire. And most people's residual value was significantly lower than what the market value was for their vehicle. So they would get $1,000 or $2,000 equity towards the new lease to try and help offset some of those higher interest rates that we're in right now. If your car was going to go back to the leasing company, they have their own people that come out and do an inspection on it, and you do have time prior to handing the car back to fix any of the concerns that independent third party may have suggested needs done. Right. But for the most part, again, and there's no charge to that, but either you take it into your dealership or make those arrangements a couple months out, and exactly, you would have the opportunity to take care of any deficiencies.
Okay, now I haven't decided if I'm going to lease it or buy it yet, like I'm not quite sure. Financing, should I go to my bank or can I do that here?
We find that normally these are subvented rates from the manufacturer, so though we don't see those 0% that we used to, you're still getting a lower rate at a dealership for a new car than you would if you went directly to the bank. The banks almost would rather have the administrative stuff done for carloads done at the dealership. It's less hassle for them. It's much easier for them just to get in the contract and fund it. So what you find is that you'll have a lower rate, usually on used cars as well, at the dealership versus the bank.
Okay, now dealerships, they make money when they put financing in place for a customer. They're providing a service and they get money. So if I want to pay it off early, say I win a lottery, can I do that? Is there a problem with paying off the loan?
No. Back up to what you said earlier, the dealership does not make any money off the financing. We make the sale. There is most new car rates that are subvented or supported by the manufacturer. There is no money from the bank coming to the dealership for sending them that business. Different on the used car side. If you use a on the used car side, there may be some incentive from the bank in order to try and get more business sent their way. It's usually, a percentage of the contract. Some banks will offer you a bonus for a good credit score. So if you have a great person and they get approved right away, it's a very low risk person for the bank. Sometimes they will give you a bonus for that.
So I've heard horror stories that people have been forced to take finance. The last few years have been crazy in this industry, and I understand that, and I've written about it. But the forced financing, if you don't take our financing, we won't sell you this car. Have we seen the end of that in the industry? Or, it was kind of rotten?
Yes, agreed, 100%. We never did that here. I did hear horror stories about it. At the end of the day, if somebody wanted to purchase a vehicle cash and that was a parameter on buying the car that they wanted, and that was the only thing standing in their way, I would suggest to the consumer to go ahead and pay for that car in a finance, and after your first payment comes down, go down to the bank, take that chunk of cash that you had ready to pay it off, and pay off the rest of the loan.
Because it's an open loan.
It's an open loan, and they can do that, yes.
I've heard sometimes that, and I don't know if these are all American stories because our media tends to get mixed up, but can a dealer tell me, no, you have to pay this out and pay this loan time? Like, how much do they control after I've purchased this car?
I don't know all the legalities behind it, but my understanding is that those are controls set up by the government, by protection agencies to watch out for the consumer. A dealer has the right to sell a vehicle how he wants to sell it, he or she wants to sell it, okay? So I think the biggest thing here is if you're not comfortable with how it's being presented to you, don't buy it. There's other cars out there, there's other dealers that you can go to. I'm sure if you spent some time looking that you can find somebody that you're comfortable dealing with. It's an important relationship. It shouldn't just be about the one single transaction. It should be a long-term thing. And I do not believe that there's anything stopping you from going back and paying off that car as soon as possible. So if the only thing that was standing in your way with the car of your dreams was the fact that they were going to make you finance the car as opposed to pay cash for it, then I would make a payment, wait till everything was sort of set up at the bank, and then I would go in and just simply pay off the car.
Now, what would I do? I have a car out there, and I'm not sure if I'm going to sell it on my own. I don't know if I'm going to give it to my kid. Maybe I'll trade it in. What impact would that have on me getting into this venue?
The example I always use with people when they ask me that question is just for simple math. You get the value of your car deducted from the cost of the new car, plus you have tax savings on that. So if you're purchasing a $20,000 car and you have a vehicle that you're trading against that car that's, let's say, worth $10,000, then you are going to pay your taxes on the remaining balance of $10,000. So from a cash standpoint, that $10,000 trade is worth about $11,300 in cash.
Okay.
Okay. We also have to remember what a customer may see online is a retail or asking price. So many people will do their research. They'll look at some of the resale websites that are out there, and some of them are accurate and some of them are a little inflated. But at the end of the day, you have to look at a wholesale standpoint, not a retail standpoint. So, for some people, they're very close in the two of them. The more expensive your car is, the bigger the tax savings is, the closer that wholesale number is to a retail number.
So if I have a car that's $35,000 or $40,000, it's probably going to make more sense to trade it in and not deal with trying to sell it myself, because the tax savings that are going to be generated are going to narrow that gap between wholesale and retail.
Correct.
Okay.
Right? I think most places look for that $4,000 or $5,000 difference between wholesale and retail. We're buying something that we haven't really had the chance to break down and look into, and a lot of times we find problems hidden when we go to do it, and sometimes a safety that we thought was going to...
Consumers lie about things? No.
Periodically, let's just say that they don't know the troubles that their car is having until they trade it.
Okay.
So if you had a $4,000 or $5,000 difference on a $35,000 or $40,000 car, that's made up with the tax savings. But let's look at the opposite end of the spectrum. Let's say you've got a $1,000 car. So it would retail for maybe $6,000 or $7,000. You know, it's a late model car, it's got high kilometers, maybe it's a little rough in condition. The difference between your wholesale and your retail here is still the same dollars, but percentage-wise, it's significantly different than that first scenario. So at that point, if you're going to trade in your car and you're going to get $1,000 for it, well, you're getting $1,130 if we remember those tax savings. But if you could turn around and sell that car for $2,500 and undercut the people that are trying to sell it for $5,000 or $6,000, you're going to be better off, and maybe you won't be as offended by the dealer for such a low valuation on the car.
Okay.
Is there anything that you notice on this? There's one thing that I always like to point out here that we held off doing as long as possible and have just recently put into a dealer admin fee. Most places these days now will have an admin fee.
They call it a whole bunch of doc fee, admin fee, over fee, under fee, sideways fee. I get
Nanny McPhee.
Yeah, readers send me things, and there's all these varying numbers: $4.99, $3.99, $2.99.
Yep.
You have one.
Yes.
And to do the shuffling and licensing and all that, that's fair to me. Like, yeah, there's fees involved.
Hyundai Canada even puts on their website that they are letting the consumer know that they are okay with their dealer network charging up to a $599 admin fee.
So what do I do if I go into a dealer and I really like the car and everything, but I find all these fees that they're kind of vague. Like they have vague names.
Can I point this out?
Yes. Yes.
So this was one that we acquired from another store, and right there's ceramic coating or tint put in there.
That's $3,000.
That's very expensive. Yes, it is. This pre-delivery expense for $795. Let's keep in mind that the manufacturer pays the dealer under a warranty claim to do the PDI or pre-delivery inspection.
So that shouldn't be, because I know OMVIC in Ontario,
Yep.
so we're just for Ontario specific, the price has to include everything except tax and licensing.
Even licensing we put in. It should just be what the number plus HST.
Yep.
And that's not to say that this particular store didn't have this advertised plus HST. That's not the concern that I have here. I look at all these add-ons of $3,000, close enough to $800. Theft and tire, $549.
What is that? Is that a made-up thing?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is. I find that people are using wheel locks, for example. They're not going to steal your wheels anymore. They're stealing your car. Right? Like when was the last time you drove down down your street and you saw cars up on blocks or in neighborhoods? They're not stealing
you don't know where
16,
I live.
17. Maybe if it's a 22 set of something on, but so I don't understand why we still put these locks on them. Is it because we can grab an extra $20 or it's
or
something
99.
for the parts or an extra $99? But there's a cost to those locks and those locks being installed. So the profit margin on locks for me is not that. It's more just really a pain, personally. I think it's a waste of money.
So this contract here, which is just like gobsmacking to me, if I sit down with the person I want to buy the car from, I want to go through line by line and ask what these things are.
You should.
I should be able to get transparent answers on those things,
yes.
Correct?
The bill, the offer to purchase, you should be going through at the time when you're, before you sign with your sales consultant, you should understand and be comfortable with everything on that bill of sale. Your next step of the process at most stores is then you would go and sit with your financial services manager. That's where you're going to do your credit application. Okay?
I call that the small airless office where they trap you until you surrender. I know we probably don't agree on that description, but I'm just putting it out there.
I thought that was the doctor's office.
There's going to be some options that they're going to ask me about when I go to do the final paperwork. I think people should check ahead of time to decide what kind of things they want, but what are the things they're going to offer them?
You could get accessories, roof racks, whatever you want to, accentuate the physical look of your vehicle.
Okay.
Or the practical use of your vehicle. You're going to get offers on warranty. I'm a firm believer in warranty.
I'm a firm believer in warranties with the manufacturer that you're buying from. I don't like third-party warranties.
I agree. You're going to have physical protection things, paint protection, rust protection, that type of thing. Fabric protection.
Okay, now paint protection, I've never taken it because I don't need it. I understand there's people that do. I know someone wrote to me and said they parked under a tree that dropped sap all over their car and they hadn't got paint protection. They wish they had. But these are things that sometimes dealers will make you feel like everybody takes them and you should take them. That's not true. So you should know your own situation before you think about this.
100% correct.
And rust protection, I've written a lot about rust protection. I like drip oil. It's the one that is done annually. Those electronic things, I hope you don't sell them. I think they're absolute nonsense. But I know that if people want them badly enough, some people have just made up their minds that they want them. So that's fine.
We do sell them.
Oh,
there are. That's okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, right?
They're not entitled to their own science.
There is different brands, and I feel that we use a quality brand that does more than some of the other ones that I've...
Is it a ship or a pier? No, it's a car. There's other rust protection.
There is other... So we'll agree to disagree on this one.
Okay, that's fine.
However, it is offered to the consumer, and I think the most important thing is whether you believe in the technology or you don't believe in the technology, one of the biggest things that you're paying for, in my opinion, is the insurance behind the technology. The fact that it is stated that it is not going to rust or corrode. If it does, the money that you spent on that is what's getting it fixed. It's the insurance policy of the product.
Okay, what you're highlighting is the need for someone like me who's looking to buy this car to ahead of time go in and investigate all this and see what I'm comfortable with and what a fair price might be for this stuff. Like, I might decide to do my own aftermarket rust protection because I know people in the business, or I know people that are my dad or my uncle or my aunt do this and like it. So would you rather have a consumer that's done more research ahead of time, or comes in cold and asks you everything?
I guess it depends on the day that they came in and how busy I was. But no, I think at the end of the day, a consumer needs to do a lot of, because there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of questions that can be asked. So them doing the research and educating themselves is paramount to and one of the things, believe it or not, that people don't look at, and I would really like people to pay attention to, check your insurance before you come out looking for a car. We have people come in, they buy the car, and then they're like, okay, it's my first new car, I haven't got insurance yet, I want to go, and they find out that the insurance is going to cost close to or more than what they're paying for the car.
This contract with the exorbitant numbers for tint and pre-delivery expense and invented numbers, is this reportable? Like, is this illegal, or is it just immoral?
Again, I don't think it's reportable, because I don't think there's anything here. If this car was advertised at this price before taxes, then they have done absolutely nothing wrong. Are they trying to take advantage of a consumer and in a situation and try and make more money than what is fair? Yes. But it's a moral standpoint, not a legal standpoint. And that comes back to the consumer. There needs to be personal responsibility. You can't just blame the big bad wolf. You need to do your education. You need to always be willing to get up and walk away from the table. Always.
And don't sign. Once you sign, there's no cooling off period. OMVIC is, it's getting better. People are realizing that, but there's still people that think they have a cooling off period.
Yes,
they can come
correct.
back and say they changed their mind. Once you sign, you can.
That's why it says all sales final.
And the other thing is, on the back of the actual contract before you sign, there's a lot of information. I think people should read all of it. Yes, like that.
I like to send people home with stuff in advance, but there is all that there. How to get in touch with OMVIC is on there. And this is a very standard small print, which really isn't that small.
Yeah, so if I have all this, you've done all my numbers up and I've got them, am I allowed to take a copy of that home with me before I sign and make up my mind?
Yes.
And that's called a sales order, I think? It's not the sales contract? Or
no, this is a bill of sale. This is essentially, if you were taking something home, it would be a quote. So you wouldn't you would see the final numbers, but it wouldn't be on the final bill of sale type paperwork or on a contract.
Okay, so before I sign anything, I can go home and think about it and read all this fine.
Anybody who doesn't let you go home and think about it is probably somebody that I would want to be doing business with.
How do you feel if I'm looking at this and I'm still feeling a little bit like it's making me nervous? Are you okay if I say I want to come back with, it can't be my dad because he's dead, but my sister's very good at math and numbers and contracts. Are you okay with me bringing somebody else in to explain it to me through you? And can they come into that office with me when we're going through the financial part? Is that okay that I bring somebody for support?
100%. And I would almost prefer it, because I want the customer to be comfortable with the decisions and the choices that they're making while they're here. I don't want anybody ever to feel that they're pressured into something. I don't want anybody to ever feel that they're making a bad decision. So if you need time to think about it, if you need time to talk about somebody and you want to bring that person back, I encourage it by all means. You know, sometimes we jokingly refer to them as lawyers, and you know, 10% of the time they're a pain, but a lot they are beneficial. Now, what I do find is if you are going to do that, don't let that person take over the conversation, and don't let that person direct you to, because sometimes they can be almost as much trouble. As I said, for example, if you want to do something and they say don't buy warranty, and you want to buy warranty. They're not the ones who are going to be there to take you, to give you a rental car when your car's in the shop. They're not the ones there that are going to take care of you if something goes wrong with that car. So you should still be purchasing what you want, but that person there to help, maybe if something's too expensive, or if it's something you don't need or you don't want, or they're forcing you into it, to have that moral support there to so you can feel strong with your decision, you know, confident in your decision, then again, but by all means.
So that can be the person that goes, seriously, when did you last use roof racks?
Exactly.
Okay, so that
right,
part.
yeah.
Now, the chances are good that the car that I looked at out there is not the one that I'm going to physically be buying. You'll be ordering that in for me. Now, when it comes in, you call me. What happens?
So the process that we have here at this store is we will order the car for you, and then we'll track it. As soon as I have a VIN number, once the car is produced, I will get in touch with the client at that point, let you know what your VIN number is, and give you an ETA at that point. And prior to that, any ETA given is just me guessing. As the car gets closer, just before it gets to the compound, which is the last staging point before it gets onto a transport truck and comes to the dealership, we reach out to our customers to let them know that the car is just around the corner and time to start preparing, you know, the insurance, and if you need to get your money order together or whatever the case may be. It gives them that little bit of warning. Now it's pickup day. So you come into the store. Some of our customers, not all, I certainly recommend it, ask to see the car prior to sitting down and going through the paperwork. You want to make sure that the mats that you ordered are there, that there's no blemishes or scratches or anything in the paint.
What if there is? Is there a recourse? If I notice a scratch in the paint, or I've had people, the odometer has 80K on it and they wanted it 0. But if they've asked to have rust proofing or something done, then you've had to drive the car.
Yes.
So what's reasonable?
It comes off the truck with anywhere between 20 and 25 kilometers on the vehicle, okay? It's done a lot of driving around the plant. The Hyundai plant is a very big one. They drive it on the truck and off the truck and into the yards and so on and so forth. So for me to get a car that's got 18, 20 kilometers on it when it comes off is completely normal, okay? To your point, we're going to have to do a, you know, there's a PDI drive. So when the technician is doing the PDI, he needs to take it for a little drive to make sure that everything's good. You're getting tint put on the car. Well, the tint place is 5 kilometers away. We don't do it in-house here. So yeah, there's going to be some kilometers on the car. Most of the time, if it's getting stuff like that done, it's going to be in the 30 to 40 kilometer range when a customer is picking up the car. Now we've got the dealer trade situation. Let's say that you were in a rush for that car. You couldn't wait for it to come in from the factory, and I need to look for a car at another store. Your kilometer restrictions have to take that into account. So if you are, that's the one car that I want, and I would need that color and that interior, and that's it. And if that one car happens to be in Sarnia, Ontario, and you've given me a kilometer restriction of 150 kilometers, I'm going to have a hard time getting that car here and maintaining that. So we will always discuss with the customer if that's something, what the kilometers are going to be, if that's suitable. And it's their decision at that point to say yes or no, I want that car, I don't want that car.
If the car gets here and I've come to pick it up and panels don't match or something, and even if I'm like Looney Tunes because I don't know a lot about it, but if I'm not comfortable, but I've signed that sales contract, will the dealer work with me? Like, who can make a reasonable come together on that? Because this is a legal contract and this is the car I want.
If you had bought a brand new car and there's some scratching on the, let's say on the hood, okay? Let's say it's a black car. worst color, it shows up everything. So if you're not happy with that, you bought a brand new car.
By the way.
No, you ordered a black car. If there's a scratch or a blemish, I wouldn't sign the contract.
Because you sign another one when you pick it up?
Yeah, you sign the
Okay.
final paperwork and everything like that, not just the offer, you sign the whole thing. So if you're not comfortable with anything, walk away. Don't sign. Make sure that all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and you're happy with the whole package. Most places, if there's a scratch on the hood, they're going to take care of it for you. They're not going to say, no, that's it. Used cars, sometimes it's a little different. If that was there when you bought it, they try and recondition to the best that they can, but again, it's a used car.
Okay.
It is virtually what it is what it is, okay? Scratches on hoods aren't part of safety, so, you know,
Yeah.
we always try and do the best we can, but sometimes those little blemishes are just because it's a used car. But no, if you're not happy with anything on your new car, if you feel that the car is not as perfect as it should be, as pristine as it should be for a brand new car, you're within your right to ask for whatever it is to be corrected.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm sure you're doing this because of some of the things that we've talked about where we've seen bills of sale on a used car on a 2024 Elantra or 2023 Elantra that had 100 kilometers on it, and that person was charged $1,699 for a safety. It makes me sick that there's people, it is so obscene that there's people out there taking advantage of people like that. So these are the people that you and I would like to fight against, to try and make aware. Most of the people are good. Most of the people are honest. Most of the people are going to want to make sure their customer's happy and take care of any of these little imperfections with no argument whatsoever.
Well, plus it has to be easy for you if I buy a car from you and then I tell all my friends and family that it was a really good experience.
Yep, exactly.
Because that's a lot less work for you. So the people that beat everybody up that come in, that's a one-off over and over again, and that's like terrible.
That's right.
Colin Brown, you've been awesome today. Thank you so much for walking us through this.
Lorraine Sommerfeld, it's my pleasure.